Shalom, and thank you for listening to Beit Zayit Messages. If you enjoyed this teaching, consider joining us Saturday mornings at 10 a.m. at 465 Lee Highway in Verona, Virginia for our morning Shabbat services. Or watch the service live stream on YouTube, Facebook, or on our website at beitzayit.org/live. May the Father bless you richly through the hearing of His Word.
Shabbat Shalom. Thank you for coming out on this snowy, blustery kind of day. But I think it's supposed to get up like mid-30s maybe today, so it's going to feel really good, right? And we're at least 40 degrees in here, right? So this week's Parsha is Vayechi, and in English that's He lived. And there's a theme there. It's preparing for life after death, or preparing for death, and taking stock of life. Of course, we read about it with Jacob and Joseph, but then when we read this morning in the Haftorah and the Brit Hadashah, David's death, and then also Yeshua preparing to die, and their instructions and their encouragement for the people that they know are going to be left behind. So yeah, this Parsha, just to review it, Jacob, he finishes out his last 17 years of life in the land of Egypt, back together with Joseph, and the family's all back together. And when he knows that his time is coming near, when he's about to die, he calls Joseph to him. And he makes Joseph take an oath that he will bury him in the promised land. He adopts Joseph's sons as his own, and the reason for that, it seems odd, of course, but it makes sense once he does it. They're, assuring that Joseph would receive that double portion as the firstborn. He also blesses Joseph's two sons, Manasseh and Ephraim, bestowing and entrusting to them the Abrahamic blessings. The promises are the covenant was with Abraham, and then it gets passed through, right? But the other interesting thing is always it was either, Jacob or Esau, or there was a competition between the two. Right now, Jacob's going to bless all the sons. And now there are 13 because Joseph is going to be a double portion. And that's pretty neat. Although, I'll get into it, he's prophetic in large part, too, in his blessing. So he wants to bless his sons, but he speaks to the future. Jacob wasn't, he was bothered by some of the things, but I think he was speaking to the future, speaking about God's heart on these matters. So, anyway, Genesis 12:3, again, just a reminder, this is talking about Abraham. You and all the families of the earth will be blessed through Abraham. And again, it's passing through to each generation. And we're now at Ephraim and Manasseh and the other brothers. So, why did he do that? Well, absolutely. Here we find ourselves, right? Baruch Hashem. But we have a lot of times when the script is flipped on the blessings. Jacob and Esau, Rachel and Leah, Isaac and Ishmael, Ben and Jerry. No? I guess I got a little happy on the keyboard there. But Genesis 48, 15, and 16. Then he blessed Joseph and said, "The God before whom my fathers Abraham and Isaac walked, the God who has shepherded me through my life to this day, the angel who redeemed me from all evil." So he's hearkening back. He's saying, it starts with Abraham, then my dad Isaac, and then me also. God has taken care of me. May he bless the boys, and may they be called by my name. That they'll be in that line, right? And by the name of my fathers, Abraham and Isaac. May they multiply to a multitude in the midst of the land. And he goes on to say, by you, Israel, will pronounce blessing, saying, may God make you like Ephraim and Manasseh. And of course, I was unmiked and our Shabbat school kids went, but the blessing we said just now for the boys, and then also Friday evenings is traditional to bless the boys. May God make you like Ephraim and Manasseh. that has been going on for thousands of years. So here we have it, way back in the Torah. Israel will speak of you in their own blessings by saying, may God make you like Ephraim and Manasseh. So it's a silly, oh, it's not silly, it's a little thing, but there it is. I can't stay the course sometimes for 2 days, but here God and His Word have stayed the course for thousands of years. Baruch Hashem. So all over the world, for thousands of years, that blessing has been pronounced. So then after blessing Joseph and Ephraim and Manasseh, he calls the other sons together, and he's going to bestow his patriarchal blessings upon all of them before he dies. And like I said earlier, the spirit of prophecy really falls on Jacob, and he begins to speak to the future. So, and remember, now, does anyone remember who the physical firstborn son of Jacob was? Reuben. Yeah, Reuben was the first. Remember, though, he just created a situation where Joseph would get the double portion as if he were the firstborn. And in fact, that was Rachel's son, right, with his original wife that he thought he was going to get, But yeah, Genesis 49, 3 and 4. This is the complete Jewish version. Reuben, you are my firstborn, my strength, the first fruits of my manhood. Though superior in vigor and power, you are unstable as water. So your superiority will end, because you climbed into your father's bed and defiled it. He climbed onto my concubine's couch. So Reuben, yeah, he would have normally received the double portion as the firstborn. And Reuben is removed as that status is taken away from him as the firstborn because of a youthful indiscretion, some people would call it, but to put a name with it, it was Bilhah. So it really was quite scandalous, And so you can't quite go poor Reuben. I mean, you do, but it's like, hey, he did mess up pretty badly there. So also, though, Levi and Simeon, they're rebuked for the massacre at Shechem. Remember, Dinah was taken advantage of, putting it lightly, and that made Levi and Simeon pretty mad, so they convinced all the men of Shechem to get circumcised, and they waited till they were really not feeling too good, and they killed them, lots and lots of them. So that always was a problem for Jacob. He didn't think that was the right thing to do, and at best it was going to cause a lot of trouble for him. So this is what he says in Genesis 49:7, Jacob does. Cursed be their anger, for it was strong, and their rage, for it was cruel. I will disperse them in Jacob, I will scatter them in Israel. And you think, well, what happened? Well, the tribe of Simeon became absorbed into the tribe of Judah eventually. The tribe of Levi was dispersed, and they would own no land to speak of. Of course, they were assigned the responsibilities of the priesthood. So again, there's some, it's not all like punish, but it did have that outcome that they would be dispersed throughout the land, and they would not own any meaningful amount of land. They were allowed to live in the cities with a little bit of land for maybe a horse or their livestock, but no significant pieces of land. So Judah, though, he's promised leadership, prominence, and monarchy. And think about David and Yeshua. That's through the line of Judah. Genesis 49:8. Yehudah, your brothers will acknowledge you. Your hand will be on the neck of your enemies. Your father's sons will bow down before you. Again, how did it come about? We have King David, and then through King David comes Messiah Yeshua. And again, just a reminder, I know we say this a lot, but we're talking about Joseph a lot here lately. When Yeshua first came, he came as Messiah ben Yosef, Messiah son of Joseph. And you think about Joseph's suffering. You think about Joseph's forgiveness for his brothers all through his life. Sometimes we can muster up the strength to have heart and forgive, but then later we kind of let ourselves get bitter again. Joseph followed through all the way to the end of his when Jacob died and to the end of his life, with forgiveness in his heart for his brothers. So there's really a lot of parallels between Joseph and Yeshua. But we know when Yeshua comes back the second time as a conquering king, he's going to be Messiah ben David, Messiah son of David. So each tribe received some sign or token of their future, but really Joseph did receive the most blessings from Jacob. And then, of course, after blessing his sons, Jacob dies. Joseph has them embalmed and escorted to Canaan by a large Egyptian funeral procession. What was it, 70 days they mourned? And then they made a trip. I'm not sure how long that trip took. They mourned some more. And it wasn't just Joseph and his brothers. There were people in high places from Egypt all went along with, whereas the local Canaanites said, man, these guys really, this is something else. So does anyone remember where he was buried? What that's called? It's a cave. Yeah, the cave of Machpelah. Anyone remember who's buried there? I'll give you some hints. I want you to say. Apparently a lot of people. Yeah, Abraham and Sarah, Isaac and Rebekah, and Leah. Now, it says in this parsha that Leah was buried there. I don't think it really outlines when she died, and some speculate that she might have been as young as 44 when she died. But it says in this parsha, yeah, Leah is in fact buried at the cave of Machpelah. And so, yeah. So, where is, this is fun. Don't ever give me a microphone. Let's see, where's Rachel buried? Does anyone remember? Bethlehem. Lois seemed a little unsure of herself. You're right. That's awesome. Yeah, well, that makes a difference. Yeah, you can, I just Google Earth, Hebron and the cave of Machpelah, and you can find it. You can zoom in. It's in the eastern portion of Israel, right? It's and it's still there. So it's pretty amazing. Anyway, so on the way back to Egypt, after they take Jacob to the cave of Machpelah, the brothers, once again, they're freaking out. They were like, hey, Dad has died, and now Joseph, he's probably been holding back because of Dad, but now he's going to really let us have it. But Joseph has to assure them, like, hey, I forgive you. I'm not going to avenge myself against you. And again, that parallel with Yeshua. Joseph had plenty of reasons to hold a grudge. I mean, he wasn't without reason. His brothers were afraid for a good cause. And so Joseph had been wrong, but he chose to forgive. And again, he chose to forgive over the period of years and years and years. And even though he had essentially unlimited power, all he had to do was say the word, and it was done. And if you think about it, I should have brought some tissues with me. Yeshua, well, I mean, he's been wronged as well, right? It's not like things weren't done to him. I know I'm stating the obvious, but not just the physical punishment, not just the physical suffering, but the insults, all of that. And again, he has unlimited power to strike back against his enemies, and he never did. So again, Messiah ben Joseph, Yeshua, and Joseph have a commonality. Okay. God bless you, Garrett. That's love. Thank you, man. You guys were making me cry a little bit earlier. So before Joseph dies, he predicts a future redemption when God will lead the sons of Israel out of Egypt. Things have been pretty good for a while, but they're about to get bad, right? When we get into Exodus, they're going into slavery. It's not going to be good for a long time. But Joseph said to his brothers, this is Genesis 50, 24 and 26, I am dying, but God will surely remember you and bring you up out of this land to the land which he swore to Abraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov. Then Joseph took an oath from the sons of Israel. God will surely remember you, and you are to carry my bones up from here. So Joseph died at the age of 110, and they embalmed him and put him in a coffin in Egypt. Now, we're not sure why they didn't then make a big procession and take Joseph there, but it didn't happen. We know that in the Exodus, though they do take his bones back to the cave of Machpelah. So in that verse, it says, remember you twice. Some of the versions say, God will surely take care of you. So Jacob is, if you read back a few verses, Jacob gives Joseph very similar reassurances. God will surely take care of you. God will remember you. And then Jacob takes and does the same thing to his brothers. And he reassures them, God will surely take care of you. God will surely remember you. And as Daniel rightly pointed out, that applies today as well. That message is for us too. If we're a disciple of Yeshua, which we are, we hold the same reassurance that Joseph gave his brothers. God will surely take care of you. God will surely remember you. But here we are. There's a lot of clouds on the horizon. There's a lot of bad news, always. A lot of things, injustice in this world, things to be scared of, things to be mad about. So sometimes it's hard to know what to do, and there's, of course, lots of verses that could point you in the right direction, but I do love this Micah 6:8 verse because it's very simple. What do I do? Who are you, God, and what do you want from me? Well, Micah 6:8 says, He has told you, humanity, which includes everyone, all of us, what is good and what Adonai is seeking from you, only to practice justice, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with your God. Now, I know that's still a complicated instruction list, but it's pretty short, pretty simple. And if we can accomplish that, then maybe we will be great in the kingdom of heaven. We'll certainly be in the kingdom. Peter, in 1 Peter, he also encourages believers. He acknowledges the trials and the troubles that people are going through. It's hard. But he says, all right, let's pull up our bootstraps here. Therefore, get your minds ready for work. Keep yourselves under control and fix your hopes fully on the gift you will receive when Yeshua the Messiah is revealed. So, doing now what may not have an immediate reward, but we know that there is a long-term reward. There's also short-term reward. Living according to God's ways is life-giving, right? So, anyway, I think there's a lot to be encouraged by and for and to look forward to. Alan, it was really neat when you were talking about your grandmother, and there seems to be a theme. We have the sort of life and death of Jacob, Joseph, King David, Yeshua. We have a certain limited amount of time on this earth, and always the generation that's passing away is concerned for the next. But what Alan was talking about is no matter how smart we think we are or how good we think we are in fact standing on the shoulders of the previous generations. And we shouldn't gloss it all over, but we shouldn't completely trash them either. We are standing on their shoulders. And you know what that means is that the next generation is standing on our shoulders, right? So I just pray that God would help us to do the best that we can. Our ancestors did the best that they could. Maybe it wasn't always so good, but they did do something. They did create a spiritual legacy for us to stand on, many of us. And I pray that God would help us to do that now, today, in this generation as well. It helps that when you have 18-year-olds and 15-year-olds, you really see it literally happening before your eyes. And it's really neat to see. I think it was 130, 20-something years old. Well, most 20-something-year-olds are doing the exact opposite of running to God. They're running away from God as fast as they can, kind of at the all-you-can-eat world buffet, right? So it is really encouraging. It doesn't mean that there's not lots of problems, but God can do an awful lot with a very little. So I'm encouraged and I'm excited about what's happening in his kingdom, where he's going, and that he's taking us with him when he's doing that. So praise God. I think I put the Hazak again. It is significant to read through the first book of the Torah, and it's encouraging. Be strong, and may we be strengthened. And I'm going to just read a quote here. May God grant each one of us strength to carry on the spiritual legacy that we've received and to pass the torch on to the next generation. And with that, I'll say Shabbat Shalom. Thank you, guys.